or idealism practically achieve better outcomes and more durable solutions for the future? Third, what do you see in the future when the new international order or system has been put into place? Because something will be put into place. What will be the keys to creating the system that you would like to see in place? And, what is it that what will be the keys in creating it, in other words? Number 5 is, how can we use this journey through this pandemic that we've all experienced to create what is needed? How has just all of our immediate experiences inform us and has taught us something about, what the future needs to become? And sixthly, what underlying image, belief, ideal, assumption, etc., has guided you, just bring to consciousness, like you were doing, just what are these underlying assumptions that you know to be true and that you have in your pocket and that breaks open and allows you to be in that creative state of imagining the next step of the journey. I obviously thought immediately of Slicker, and a lot of you have already heard me say as you entered into the room, this was my personal image, and Joe's actual, what I remember from Joe's actual image is in the mural wall. So you might glance through that or the written words that he said, if you choose to, or have that up as you answer these questions. So let's just go ahead now and move into the breakout groups.
Are those questions on the chat?
They are in the chat and they are in the mural. If you're on the mural, you can click on the Joe Slicker's thing. If you would like me to highlight some of the points in the thing, I'll be glad to. Don't know if I have time.
Okay.
Should we go to the groups?
I thought, yeah, we can go into groups, or why don't we just open quickly before we go into groups, Slicker's image and words. I don't know how to share. Oh, where is that?
It's either at the bottom or the top of your screen.
You want me to try and share my screen, Jean?
Okay, just a minute. Yeah, if you right, that would be great. I'm not sure how to do that.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, good.
So here's the screen, and now you can click on, if you want to click on the image, Jim.
Yeah.
Show them how to do that. Then you can actually click and make this image very large.
Oh, it's over there. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
But again,
Marvelous.
and the words in the image itself are also there, correct, Jim?
I thought people could see it.
Yep.
What is NY and NL?
No longer in yet.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
G, duh.
It's okay.
National League of New York, yeah.
I thought it was New York. I
Good.
said, why is New York included in there? All right.
Basically, the image, of the now, I was sort of part of the creation of this image back in, I don't know, 1963, 64, when we were trying to figure out which ones of the papers to use in the 8-week curriculum of RS1. So basically, Martin Luther, I think that's, the fierceness of the now, gave us this image of the empty space between the no longer and the not yet.
Well, in the book Betwixt and Between, talking about the liminal space is part of our history.
Right. And of course, it's the empty space of the no longer and the not yet where the creativity emerges from within us. The very moment of this always feeds the not yet. It's carried out from the inner dialogue with the next creative moment, our next thought. So basically, we begin to understand the external world for us is only going to change as we change our inner world. We are here to finally clean up our lives, our separation from ourselves, others, etc. And perhaps the first time we live in a time that is seemingly possible to see our living relationship and obligation to love, nature, or the cosmos as a whole. And, of course, the gift of every human being is the being and the becoming, which is a pair of opposites. These opposites are eternally attached.
Yeah.
We love the image of Kierkegaard. We are always acting out our self-understanding. So we used it in that form also in our history.
No.
The being side is the formless and can only be approached through stillness or the nothingness or a sheer blank empty space. The becoming side is the form, the external, the everyday life. The form is fed by the formless at every moment, in every now. It is the gift of the eternal life, of being alive, of being filled with spirit. So how does this play out in the external world of form? This would be the question of what we're about, as we end all of the time of this pandemic and creating the future.
Okay, off to the rooms.
That would be great.
Oh,
I'm assuming that we're idealists. So are we all supposed to join groups? Should I say Jim Wiggle is inviting you to join room 5? Should we do that, Jim? I do that?
You want to join a room? Go ahead.
Are
What do
you,
want to do?
what do you and David do? Do you join one of these things?
Yeah, I'm gonna go in one.
Okay. I guess I will too. Or do you, as administrator, can you eavesdrop?
You could go in and out, yes.
I can go in and out.
If you click the breakout room icon, then it gives all the rooms and up, like across from room 1, it says join. Across from room 2, it says join. So then you can pick any room and join, and then you can leave that room whenever you want to.
Where is the word join, Jim? I've got the list up.
Do you see room 1? Where it says room 1?
Yeah,
All right, go across to the end of that line. It should say join.
okay.
I don't know where you're looking at.
Okay. Jean,
Um,
do you have the breakout rooms open?
No, I don't know how to get them open.
Okay.
I,
At the bottom of your screen should
right,
be
okay.
some options, one of which says breakout rooms. It's a little bit towards the right.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, and
Click
and when
that.
I click on that, I get unassigned James Weigel. Okay, and then I get the room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So you pick a
Okay.
room and where it says room 3 across it says room 3 on the left. On the right, there's a little blue thing that says join. If you click that, it will allow you to go join that group.
Oh, really? No, it doesn't do that for me. It tells me how many people are in each room. I have the option to close all rooms.
No, you don't want to do that.
No, I'm not going to do that.
See
But,
You see the word room 4 or room 5?
yeah.
Well, to the right of the words room 4, there's a little symbol on number 4, but if you put your cursor on that, it turns to join.
Okay, let's see. I think I'm assigned to one of these
You're
rooms.
assigned to room 5 and you have not joined.
Okay, so yeah, all right. So if I click on the little arrow that points down, which is to the left of it, it doesn't give me that option. In fact,
You don't want to click on the arrow to the left, go to the right.
I don't have anything on the right.
What's at the end of the line that says room 4?
Oh, I got you. Okay, at the end of I see the join. Right.
There you go, join.
So normally, David, what do the facilitators do? Do they, if you were facilitating, do you kind of join them all, or what do you do, Dave?
I've been going to a selected group. I haven't picked one yet, but I'm gonna go into group 3 or 4. 4 doesn't have very many people, so I'll go in there.
But then when you leave, yeah, it's really obvious, right?
Yes.
What do you do? What are you going to do?
I'm going to help you do what you want to do. Then I'm going to relax for a minute and figure that out.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's talk about when they come back. I forgot to tell them what they were supposed to do. So that's a bad thing.
Which is what?
To come up with 3 insights to put on the mural wall.
Okay.
So the reports are going to be a little awkward, right?
All right. Do you want me to broadcast that message to everyone?
Yeah, that might be a good idea. The question is, do we want to do it? Yeah, at what point should we broadcast it? So I mean, we can put it in the chat, but they're not going to be looking in the chat at this point. And I never did get clear on just the assignments that they can have. Do we want to just let the reporter do what they want? And if they have someone, I don't remember how other facilitators manage the assignment about how they do the reporting.
How would you like to do it?
I think the three insights would be great. I remember asking you the question, how do they get that into the mural? I think that's tough. But they could, they've got the 3 steps there. Or do we want to just listen to the reports and have someone type whatever?
I have prepared a message that says, for your report, choose 3 insights from your discussion and write them on the mural wall. There are pink stickies available.
Okay, great.
I'm going to send that.
Okay, perfect. And then it shows up, it's a pop-up, right?
Somehow, yes.
Okay. So I'm hesitant to run in and out of a group,
Okay, then don't.
but do you think you will be doing that or no? Because
Usually one of us holds back in case somebody has a thunderstorm and has to be let back in and stuff like that. I'm
oh, okay,
playing that role.
right. Okay. It's too bad that we can't eavesdrop without showing up.
People aren't offended if you go in the group.
I know, but what if I leave?
Well, here's the difficulty going and coming.
When I leave, do I
Let
come
me
back and
finish.
see you?
Let me finish. You go into the room and you just show up in the room. And then when you go to leave, you can click an option that says, leave this room, something like that, or leave the meeting, or close the whole thing for everybody. So when you go into a group, you have to be careful not to, if you leave the group, you have to be careful not to close the thing for, not to hit the wrong button and close the thing for everybody. Or end the meeting totally.
Right. Before I make any other decisions, how are we doing on time? And do we need a little bit more? We would like to hear from each group.
The past is approved and the future is open.
Pretty much covers it.
That was exactly the right amount of time, and now
That's
we're
what he
ready for
said.
whatever the answers are that are ready to be shared.
Let's hear about let's hear short reports from every group, and it can be whatever the reporter would like to report from their group. And maybe end with maybe then after we hear the reports, we can talk about what images we ourselves have now, having listened to all of our colleagues.
You want to just call in the numbers, the room numbers, so that we can go faster?
Yes, room 1.
So Mylan says Ellie knows the answer.
What does Mylan know? Nothing.
Ellie, do you have an answer?
I don't have an answer. I have some things written down
Go for it.
that we talked about.
Good enough.
Okay, so these are some of the images. Carlton had shared one of the images, and then Ellen Howie added to it. It's a triangle, and the center is the common sense, the idea of the commons, the earth, and what we're doing is the commons. The knowing pole is the common. Carlton, help me here. I can't read my writing. Carlton, see here? Okay, the knowing pole, okay, I got that. The knowing pole was the common home, the doing pole was the common good, and the being pole was the common heart, compassion of the common heart. That's the new common sense. Another image was gratitude, sort of things that we've learned during the pandemic, and what some of the keys to moving to the future, the sense of gratitude and unconditional love, the image of the earth rise. What are the new values that will move us into the future? How does what we learn move us into a new behavior? We might have learned a lot, but how do we transfer that learning into new behaviors to move us into a new future? Okay, group, help.
That's good, Ellie. You're complete.
Okay, group number 2. Anyone? Evelyn has a few things in the chat. Were you want to report, Evelyn, you from that group, or are they in the chat?
You're muted.
Oh,
Unmute.
sorry, the notes in there that say Evelyn are actually my notes.
Oh, okay.
So that's from group 1.
So I
Sorry,
feel
I
lost.
got to rename myself or else the chat box thinks I'm Evelyn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wanda or Judith, or 2 Judiths, Dennis?
Well, we said technology was going to be the key that would get people together, that and has to be with the image of the common good. And Fareed's statement was the idealism underlying liberalism is simple and practical. If people cooperate, they achieve better and more durable solutions than by acting alone. If nations avoid war, their people lead longer, richer, and more secure lives. And if we become intertwined economically, everyone ends up better off. And so that's sort of our vision of what the new would look like. The question is, how do you get there? And we're thinking that technology is going to have to be some way to get out the story and get people working together. Anything else? Group 2?
Well, thank you. Group 3.
I don't even know what group we were.
Barrett,
Oh, is that group 3?
that
Oh,
is, that's you.
I've
Or
already forgotten that. But
Doug?
what struck me is Pat, maybe you say something, Pat, about that people's
No. are you
images
finished?
change in ways, you know?
I'm sorry, Barrett, I didn't quite hear that.
Well, Pat gave us our first really good example of just how people's images, she gave an example of people's images changing, and little things can initiate those changes, and that it's hard to, like Zakaria says, that there needs to be some kind of peace and stability for people to really leap into a new way.
Right. Yeah, and we had been talking about you can physically move people to a very different environment, and they it transforms them whether they want it to or not. They just are changed. Or sometimes what I was talking about was just a story that radically altered people's image, including me. I had no idea the story was going to do that. Anyway.
Isn't that sort of the pandemic?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
That's
changed.
the physical change?
Mhm.
Yeah, and we had no idea.
Yeah. Good.
You're forced to see in new ways. I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes. You
So I
can't.
guess, my question is, it's right on. And, what is it that helps you see the new way is basically the
Mhm.
question I was trying to get at.
well, sometimes an event happens in your life, you know?
That's true.
I think part of
Happened to us.
our experience too is that you have to intentionally structure experiences for people that awaken them.
Mhm.
And, we called
Yeah.
people to awakenment through RS1, post working with ICA, some of us got into the education system, and we used, our teaching and other mechanisms that we created to awaken students to having to work together in a multilateral way. But it was based on our experience in the ICA with being thrown into situations internationally or in this country working with Native Americans that really transformed our understanding of how you work with people and what it means to be forced over against your own shortcomings and having to step outside of that.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems with the pandemic has been, it's been really easy for people to, because of you can create your own bubble of like-minded people. And I think that's what's going to happen is post-pandemic is all of a sudden people are going to start bumping into people on the street or with your next door neighbors where you've been in different bubbles, and now you're going to be confronted with a different reality, a different way of looking at things. And to me, it's the post-pandemic where we're really going to have an awakenment, I think, of as people come out of these shells and start to be forced into different perspectives.
Thank you.
Well, I also think the quality of the bubble is going to be dramatically different globally, but also locally. But globally, it'll be dramatically different country to country. I remember sitting here and realizing that I was sitting here looking at a screen in which I could talk to the world 24/7. I could watch basically every TV and movie program in the universe. And then thinking about my childhood when I had the measles and was in a dark room with a Sears catalog, because that was sort of the whole entertainment available at the moment. And well, that's sort of the world that we have, where we have part of the world which is in these bubbles where you have everything and can dial up and have food delivered. And we have these bubbles in which whatever's in the house is what you got, and you're alone or you're with your family or you're with whatever. Anyway, it's just going to be, it's a common, uncommon experience.
And habits and patterns are really something that are difficult to break in spite of this whole pandemic. Everything on the news tonight is people just throwing any caution to the wind and going ahead and behaving as though nothing had happened.
This is Ellen. Can somebody let me in on Zoom because
You're
I'm
on.
waiting? Yeah, but I'm not in.
Oh.
So her voice is here, but she
We
isn't.
need to hear from, let's go ahead and hear from someone from room 4. And then, because I would like to have time then for us to respond as a group to all of the reports. So Jan, Karen, Tom, Lewis, group 4.
I'll begin, but I'm hoping Tom will jump in. You had a key insight at that last that I didn't quite get. We kind of had a times conversation. We talked about what happened with the quad meeting as, oh, is that me or?
Let's see. We're just getting a bit of feedback.
Yes. Anyway, so the quad gathering, if you don't know, the four countries from Asia meeting with the US and okay, and we also explored Biden's speech to the US nation, and one Canadian's kind of dismayed at, we were back to the conversations about we'll be first and we'll be do this first. And there's a lot of other good things, you know, in that talk, but that part about being first again and having to be there. And the Canadian was a little dismayed. I was the Canadian. But that was, again, the language. And what did it mean to build back in little ways? And how did those little ways build more of an inclusive society? Not, again, one nation driving the response, one nation being the shining light on the hillside we used to talk about. But how do we build that? How do we enable, when we do the small little things, that it is in inclusive ways that also honors the wisdom of other cultures and other nations? And definitely a concern about China. And I'm going to then turn it to Tom.
The phrase that was interesting to me was the phrase Jan used at the end of our small group session, which was developing inclusive myths, MYTHS, okay? To me, that's where we are. When Jan describes it as a time travel, participants were mentioning everything from the post-World War II period, not as something read in a book, but as lived experience. All, you know, to the present time, when we've just come out of the wrenching trauma of the Trump regime. So we were, in fact, doing exactly what Jan, I think, was saying. But you see, it's developing. There's so many possibilities, it seems to me, both on large scale and small scale. And we're dealing with the shift from the post World War II mindset, where the United States dominated for any number of reasons, into a world where there's a whole bunch of, you know, give and take, and, you know, we're trying to rebuild things, we're trying to reshape things. And I think developing inclusive myths is where we're at. Anybody else want to add to that?
I think I'll put in one more part that came from the news about the inclusiveness. And it had to do with the Meghan Markle and Harry interview with Oprah this last week, ripped from the headlines. And Harry's comment that he did not realize that his family was racist until he had to view the family through the eyes of his wife. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of where we're at, is how do we, you know, from the Western world, begin view the world from, I've had a small window on Nepal for 20 years. But how do we view it from that perspective, and then create all these little ways of change that need to happen?
We did hear from Louis Pierce also, and his works for the last 11 or let's see, 9 years. And and he's been funding 230 Ghanaians to go through school in terms of trying to position them for the new leadership of Ghana, as well as his dental clinic. But these, you know, it seems like, I imagine it seems like a little thing by yourself, but it makes a big difference, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was in that group too, and living in Rochester, Minnesota, every time I go to a specialist at Mayo, and with my afflictions, I go to a lot of them. The doctor that I see has a different resident, and usually that resident is from another country. getting training so
Yeah.
that they can go back over
Yes,
to that
yes.
country. It's happening in other clinics around the United States, that people are getting trained and they're going back over and bringing
Hopefully.
our
Hope they're going back, yeah.
knowledge to
Well, let's
bear.
quickly move into group 5 so that we have all the groups reporting, and then we'll open it up a little bit to now what? Where do we go from here based on our internal images that are helping direct us into the future and therefore the world? We've got Linda, Joyce, Jack, Eunice, someone from that group.
Don Collins.
Joy.
Dawn, go for it.
We came up with about 1, 2, 3.
List the top 3.
Well, we did have at least 4, maybe 5, but I'll be brief. I promise. The first thing that came out was what's needed is cooperation. Cooperation between the nations, and the pandemic sort of catalyzed that into a worldwide priority. The pandemic birthed the need for cooperation between the nations to deal with the pandemic. And there's some headway being made there now, with our country deciding to help poor nations get vaccines. And another point was we need to, I'm not sure how to work this in really well, Eunice, you might have to help me, but we need to recover the wonder of the awe, AWE. And that means that we have to be in touch with the spirit and the methods for transmitting those to the masses. I'm adding in a bit, and we needed to listen, and we needed to use our methods to transmit and instill the spirit, the passion of the people into dealing with our present situation. And keys to creating sustenance or systems that you see in place. That was something outside of our insights. I misnumbered. Keys to creating systems you see in place. I leave you with that question.
Okay, thank you. So anyone now, from what you've heard from what the other groups discussed and things that have occurred to you, would we agree here? Are we the idealists and therefore possibly the ones that will be more realistic about the future?
Be what?
Be more realistic about the future, or be able to realistically move the world into the next step post pandemic?
Oh, Jack said the cabaret was the lasting image that we had before we had to close. We have to be the cabaret or the house church.
My
I
point on
belong
the
to
cabaret was that the other world that we put as a background for the cabaret was the German sense of destiny, and what I was saying was the awe that those people felt so much that they built a salute, and they all believed that they had the future in their hands, and what it meant to wake up to reality, that was not real, but they thought it was real. And so awe is a very interesting twist of what is authentic awe. And for me, that has to do with, in the cabaret, we did the other world, which meant we said there was values were part of the awe. And the values, therefore, keep you in line with what it is that needs to happen. And if you don't have the values, then you can have January 6th. You can have all sorts of things that people say, by God, I was just caught up with what was happening, and I went and I did it. And there are people who are leading it who know that's exactly the methodology that enables people to them, thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. So I think there's some wisdom in our history, and I just use the cabaret as that place we could look at to begin to understand the power that we're up against in the world.
Well, I think that we've touched on myths, rites, and symbols, and where you find that awe, the deepest level is in the church. And that's why I mentioned that I belong to an evangelical house church that meets, that hasn't been meeting, but we read Bible passages to tide us over until after Easter, when we'll meet together outside. But in any case, what would it mean to turn your home into a house church and have a diverse, small congregation that you fed on the other side of having a Bible study? These people, these evangelicals, we sent one of our members to Korea, or I forget, she went to Asia, and I supported her in that. She just transmits the word to Korean pastors who are doing house churches in spite of the repressive government. I wish I knew the country that she actually went to, but it was either Korea. I don't think it was Taiwan, because I don't think they repress their churches.
Neither does Korea, except
yeah.
North.
Yeah, only
Someone who
North.
hasn't yet had a chance to speak and in the group yet, what hasn't been mentioned that is going through your mind at this point, having reflected on this chapter and hearing each other's reflections and perspectives on what it is, and what is it that guides us as realists into being a part of creating what comes next?
Well, one thing that Louis Pierce, one thing that guides us is, as we all know, an inclusive myth, or writing the mythology. And in 1967, Martin Luther King gave a speech. It's on YouTube. It's called The Three Dimensions of a Complete Life. And he talked about that there's the length of life, which is our own security, health, wealth, and progeny, and a little fun. And we could talk about it as maybe the land of mystery. It's self-fulfillment. And then he talked about the breadth of life, where we're concerned about the welfare for others, take a risk for the world and for one's community. And that could be on the sanctification pole. I think it could also represent the mountain of care in the myth, or the mythology. And then there was the depth of life, which is the God, which is represented and the being pole, maybe I could say, on the great image that was created, where we understand that, like he said, I know who holds the future, but I don't know what the future holds. And that's a deep sense of, obviously, as we all know, humility. So it is the dimensions of a complete individual life, a community life, and any kind of life that it's an inclusive myth, and we could put all kinds of words and phrases and stories into this full-hearted mythology. Anyway, that's what I had to say.
I feel like Fareed Zakaria very much believes that multilateralism is already happening. And I think where he talks about the most is at the local level. I've had many opportunities since George's death to have many conversations that I was in the now. And I almost look forward now to having an opportunity to talk to somebody internationally because of an issue I'm trying to solve. And I hear a rooster crow or hear something going on and say, hey, are you in the Philippines? And I decided to, since they're all recorded, that because they tell you that at the beginning, I'm going to record. I said, that's fine. And I find that's where I've just decided to have spirit conversations. And it's amazing how people will take that kind of time when you're dealing with an issue to talk about life, because I'm talking about life and deep pain and suffering from my situation. And I just think that's where it's at these days, is in having those spirit conversations wherever we show up, because it's happening with everybody. And I think they yearn for it. And I look forward to those rather than thinking it is an imposition.
I looked around my space today and I'm going to start a house church in our building. We have 11 stories, 120 residents, some disabled, mostly aged or aging. Very well. There's community here and I want to impact it with RS1 as taught through Bible study. They've had a couple, 2 or 3 that started and kind of petered out. But since the pandemic, I'm thinking that people may be in the mood, in the zone to be fed with the Spirit. And you got to feed them. So I got provisions that I intend to put together on the stove, a big pot of chili mac or spaghetti or whatever. And that's how I got into this evangelical, diverse, small congregation. The woman upstairs on the 11th floor who just turned 90, she said, come to my church. And we had food afterwards. I said, oh.
Food is good.
And they got me good, and I support them as much as I can afford to.
Thank you, Don. One more comment, maybe short, or if you've got something else that really you'd like to share, please put it in the chat.
I would like to say that what life has taught me really is to stay open to the emergent. That's a new word for me, to refer to mystery, to the surprise, to whatever comes. Because even if we have rational aims and existential aims or experiential aims, when we encounter people, we are encountering the unknown. And to be open to that, and like I am listening today, how do we let our eyes see or our heart feel, what is coming out of like what our conversation today. And to me, it's just that we do not have the answers. To be first is actually from our tradition, is to be the servant of all. That means to listen to all. And share what you were saying, Sister.
Yeah, I'll just mention in passing, Ellie and her daughter have written an incredible new song.
she
And I
shared.
don't know whether you've played it on this
Yeah.
with
She
this group or not. I may have missed that week. Anyway, Let the Earth Breathe is a incredible new ballad. And, I was just thinking of the power, what are the vehicles? Maybe for Dawn, it's a house church. What are the vehicles for the Spirit communicating, jolting people with the Spirit, and the music, the songs that have been so powerful in our past are still all being, the new ones are all being written. How many deaths will it take till we know that too many people have died? How many pandemic deaths will it take till that, that song suddenly has a whole new era to be sung? How many deaths will it take till we know that too many people have died? Let the Earth Breathe. And, we used with our church study group a couple of weeks ago, we used We Are the World, We Are the Children. And that had a very powerful impact on people, to take an older song and just play it again and listen to those words or brand new words like Ellie has written. So anyway, I just feel like, the whole world can tap into any song at any moment. And so keep writing them, Ellie.
Ellie, will you put that on?
Every man and nation comes the moment to decide.
I love that.
Thank you. We think probably we need to move on, and I need to turn it over to Jim, who will give us the assignments, set us up for the conclusion of our time together with studying these 10 lessons that our author has put forward for us to reflect on. But I also want us to maybe just, pause, no answers necessary, but silently, what lesson have you learned that you would like to leave at your death, maybe from this illusion or not, what? And then Jim, please take over.
Thank you. Well, a 12-week journey, we've completed 11 weeks, 1 week to go. We've covered 233 pages, plus there's another 60 pages of notes, which I am sure everyone in this group has been studying diligently. So that's 293 pages. And now there are 16 paragraphs left. The conclusion. And the title of the conclusion is Nothing is Written. Oh, my heaven's sakes, how will we do this? Anyway, Judy and I have had a good time. We're the chapter hosts. Judy and I have had a good time working on the chart and the lesson plan. We've already got a chart up on the wall, and that'll be coming out shortly. Probably you're going to get a link to a Survey Monkey or something, so we can do some of the evaluation of the mural wall and all this kind of stuff as well. It's interesting because it seems the case Fareed is trying to make is that the pandemic and what we've done to respond to the pandemic provides an opportunity to spring, this is right, spring forward. That's daylight saving times. To spring forward with new ways of operating, disrupt things. And this last weekend, the Technology Participation Network had their annual conference, the biggest one they've ever had. And their theme was disruption and healing. And even this morning, when I was driving back from the food bank, I was listening to the public radio station, and they were talking about the Grammys and the Oscars and the disruption that the pandemic had by not having them and economic changing and stuff like that. And what a wonderful thing it looked like that might be in terms of producing something new. So this all comes down to human agency, which is the topic for next week. And just to point out Jean's question about what do we want to do, what do we want to leave when we die? Any of you who've not yet participated in the last chapter learning cohorts, they're starting shortly. This is Dick Alton, Pam Bergdahl, and Seva Gandhi have put this together. So I recommend that. Yeah. And I recommend that you log into the ICA Archives website and visit the calendar. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Karen. The schedule of events that are there to see follow-up kind of activities that might be possible. So
There's another study. There's another study going on or to be launching. What's his name? Terry Bergdahl and Tragic Investments by our friend and colleague. What's his name?
Addington.
James Addington.
Jim Addington, yeah.
So jump into any of those things. Enjoy spring, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, John Cock.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, John Cock.
Okay.
Hey, Doug and Pat, have your glass of wine, okay?
It's time.
Hey,
Be seeing
David.
you, John. Good to see
Hey,
you,
Barrett.
John.
Hey, Paul.
Hasta
Paul
la
back there.
vista.
Yeah.
Bye,
Thanks, Jean.
Dios.
That was a great session. Thanks, Jean.
We should just
Thank
have a
you.
BS. We could have a BS session sometime.
Oh, we will. We will.
Ready?
Leave.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Here,
you.
everybody.
Thank
We
you,
will.
Gene. That was a
You're
great
welcome.
diagram.
It was
I'm sure you've seen it.
Thank you, Marisol.
great
for
to see
keeping-
Liddy
keeping
Boo
us in
again.
shape.
Liddy Boo, Liddy Boo,
Yeah.
Liddy Boo.
Good to see
John
you.
Cox, a great golfer. Last time I saw you was 25 years ago up at the Sandlot Golf Course in Anoka.
Who was that?
John Cock,
John Cox. Oh,
Wow.
wow, that was a long time ago.
25 years. We were playing in the rain. And
Oh my
the
goodness.
rain wasn't even there.
Golf in the rain. I never heard of such a thing.
Golfing in the rain. Just golfing in the rain.
Good night, all. It's great to see you.
When y'all finish this, a couple of us need to have a little meeting and work on next week. So just
Okay, cut it short.
All right.
Good night.
Okay,
night.
James.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are,
And Mr. Calabash.
and Mr. Calabash. Hey, Don. Beautiful woman, you.
Elfrida.
Yeah, come on in here. You can just bring a chair and come in here.
Good night, Dawn. Bye.
So a couple of reflections on tonight. What went well? Scoot over a little bit so you're on the screen. Carlton,
I
stop.
think-
Go ahead, David.
I think the questions that tried to pull out lessons from the pandemic for the future are good, and we need to do more of that next week too. Instead of looking to the past, we have a tendency to look to the past on things. We've been bombarded with a negative for 4 years by the media, and it seems to me that we've got to take a more positive stance toward the future in terms of lessons, like the lessons of working together. That didn't come up at all.
What didn't come up?
The biggest lesson from the pandemic was that we learned to work together between, you know, like the healthcare workers and the vaccine and the nations working together on certain things, the states working together. Sure, there was a lot of conflict, but there was a lot of working together that happened.
And fast, and pretty fast.
Well, I really liked your segue into, you know, using it's a blank sheet, it's an open space, it's, you know, this book does leave us with the opportunity to think what our new images, our new might look like. You know, I hope that I didn't really make people go back to or romanticize what we did in the past, because what was important to me is to have people decide what new assumptions they now have from the learnings through the pandemic, and therefore to create the new form, the new images, the new assumptions.
Well, one of the things that, you know, we talked about along the way was what did Zacharias leave out? And we haven't talked an awful lot about climate change or dealing with the climate and dealing with today's big problems. And yet, when he said in this last chapter, it's going to be little things that are going to take us into the future, and little things to me where people are working together. I'll give you one example that I noticed this week. Have you seen on TV the ad where Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola promote their new bottle? It's a recyclable bottle, plastic bottle that can be recycled, and they're all going to use the same bottle. Now, Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola are marketed all over the world, in every country, including India, wherever. And for those two companies to say that they're going to put their beverage in the same bottle because it can be given, and their motto is give it back, give it back, give it back to us so we can grind it up and make a new bottle. Now, that's an example of working together that never happened before. And there's all kinds of things like that that are going to happen, both in the commercial environment and in the social and environment. And I'm just waiting for it to happen in the religious environment. Somehow the various religions have got to get together. The Pope went to Iraq last week. I mean, Pope has ever gone to Iraq. And it just, the progressives and the evangelicals have got to get together.
It's interesting. So we've got guests at our house, and we're gonna have to move on to dinner.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry I talked too much.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
helpful. Next week, we've got a chart started already, put a copy up on the mural wall. And we've talked through the procedural flow for what to do. And do you want to share a little bit, or basically we're thinking to focus the time on giving each one of us an opportunity to say what learnings we're coming out of the pandemic with, and share those and pull those together, and just use the 16 paragraphs of the conclusion as a kind of a backdrop, where he makes the case that life is not wide open. There's always trends and forces, but within every trend and force, there's an opportunity and for agency. That's kind of where we're thinking to go with it, and we could schedule a time to work on it. I was thinking we also need to do some sort of a an evaluation, reflection, whatever like that. I don't see us doing that on Zoom. I was suggesting to do another kind of survey monkey like we did after the first session, to give people an opportunity to say, well, what they learn about the technology and what might come next and stuff like that. And we're not really thinking about spending any time working on the future, like next book or whatever like that. Let that happen in some other way. That's kind of does that summarize it kind of, Judy? Anyway, so we could set a time, David. You want to walk that through next? I could send it out to you if you want to look at it, what we got.
Why don't you send it out? And yeah, I don't know if you want to get together on Zoom during the week or not. I'll look at it, and I'll just call you up and ask you if you want to get together. I mean, my question is there anything I can do to help? That's all.
You want to check? Can we do that sometime tomorrow? Late? How about late tomorrow afternoon?
What?
How about late tomorrow afternoon? Or is Wednesday better?
Tomorrow's Tuesday. Tuesday's better for me.
All right, let's do that.
If you thought of how are you going to pull together people's personal lessons, I think that's a great way to go. Segue into what, based on our own experiences, are lessons that have been experiential knowledge to us, and how and then in some way that as a collective, therefore that image of what we've learned could definitely expand.
Yeah. A lot of first issue is going to be a lot of technical help, because we've not been at all successful in being able to generate insights and get them up on the mural wall.
No, I know.
So
yeah.
we're going to think through how to get that done.
I've got a suggestion for everybody, and maybe it only works for me, but I find most writers, and he's like most writers, the last paragraph in every chapter tends to sum up the lesson, the particular lesson. So I'm going to reread every last paragraph in every chapter, looking at the charts, but reread every last paragraph to just see what it's pointing to as the lesson from the pandemic.
I've tried to put those up as gold boxes at the bottom of every session.
Uh-huh.
So that could be a referral. So we'll give people we'll encourage people to wander around the mural wall. We could use some help. I could use some help in terms of questions for that little survey. And then I don't know if we want to schedule. Okay, Dawn, you'll help with that. Okay, and then I'll schedule. We'll put that up, and then I don't know if we want to have like an after party, or anyway. We're not gonna deal with celebrating the whole or any sort of grand summary of the thing. We'll just conclusion is the summary. The conclusion is a summary, Judy says. All right.
Okay.
So what time tomorrow?
What time's best for you?
Huh? 3 o'clock here would be 6 o'clock for you, David. Is that okay?
Look at my calendar a minute. Oh, done.
Dawn, you're muted. It's funny watching you move your lips with no sound. Jane, thank you for the work.
5 o'clock. 5 o'clock for David. He's 2 hours ahead of us. You said 6.
No, but you and I are no longer on the same time because we didn't go to daylight savings time.
Oh, okay.
So David, would 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock work for you?
5 Central would be better.
Okay,
Let's see.
that's 2 for us.
Let me think. I don't think we're eating.
I'll let you all go and plan the future and be
Thank
there.
you, Jane.
next
Thank you for your work on this chapter and for the stuff from.
It was fun.
And if you can figure out where that actually came from. So
Well,
that we
I mean,
have
it
an
came
actual
from-
site as
it's
opposed to.
just that I kept it in my notes. I'm sorry. It just, the chapter reminded me of the way the empty space is where we are right now.
Have you gone to the, we've got about 30 clips of Slicker talking in these general terms up on the YouTube, our YouTube channel. That you might find interesting.
Oh, okay. And so you have little clips of him doing this image or other images?
Not of this image. We spent about 2 hours getting him to tell stories back around 2006 or 2007. Yeah. David, is that all right? 2 o'clock tomorrow?
What time?
5 o'clock tomorrow or 6 o'clock?
5 o'clock Central.
5 o'clock Central. Send us a link.
Okay, I'll do it.
All right. Don, I'll send you a link to the Survey Monkey that we did last time. And I'll brainstorm some questions and then we can work on that. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okie doke. All right, I'm going to.
Oh, incidentally, Heather McGee is Mary Boyven's stepdaughter. She's often on him. She has a new book out, and I forget the name of it, but I'm going to get it. She's a smart woman.
Well, it's good to have some smart women.
Yeah.
No, somebody sent me it's really breaking things open. It's something. All right, we'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, David.
Did you ever Did you ever read this?
I ran into it. I didn't like it at all, but I think, yeah, I ran into it.
He's heavy on the ego. It was, what struck me is that Slicker said that this needed to be the new RS1. And
I
I'm
think
not sure.
Zakaria served that purpose too.
Wow.
It's interesting.
All right.
Okay, we'll see you tomorrow,
I-
5 o'clock.
This just another thing. While we were talking, I posted on the wall. I've come to the conclusion that Zakaria's book is really focused in the social process triangles on the common defense triangle, the top pole of which is intersocial bodies. And when the groups were reporting, it seemed like they were reiterating the proposal we created in 1971 for what needed to happen there. So I put it up on the wall.
Common defense.
Intersocial bodies, that's right.
Okay.
Anyway, good night.
I'll look
Thank
at
you all.
I'll look at that. Send me the procedure and, well, I need a link to the mural.
All right.
Send me a link to the mural because I can't. I need the link.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.